The Galactic Council chamber had been silent for 11 years. Not quiet, silent. The kind of silence that meant something. Had broken, and nobody had figured out how to say it yet. 642 species held seats in that chamber. 41 had standing military agreements. 19 had fought wars that reshaped star systems. And every single one of them had, at some point in the last 3 decades, looked at the small blue planet on the edge of the Orion Arm and decided it didn't matter enough to worry about. They were about to find out what that decision had cost them. It started, the way most things that change history start, on an ordinary Thursday. Ambassador Vael Rune of the Keth Dominion was explaining, for the 4th time that session, why Earth's petition for full council membership was procedurally impossible. He had 4 necks, braided together in the way his species displayed calm authority. He spoke in the low harmonic register that translated across 17 languages simultaneously, and he spoke the way bureaucrats everywhere speak, when they have already decided the answer and are waiting for the room to agree. The petition fails on 3 grounds. Earth's military capacity does not meet the threshold for independent sovereignty classification. Their economic integration score sits at 0.7, well below the 2.4 minimum, and they have failed to demonstrate what the Council terms galactic scale thinking. Their concerns remain at best regional. The Theran delegation nodded. The Murev Consortium's representative made a sound that translated, roughly, as the diplomatic equivalent of course. The human delegation sat near the back. 3 of them. Lead Ambassador Dr. Yara Ose was 54 years old. 22 of those years in interstellar diplomatic service. She had a thermos of tea on the desk, cold, untouched since the session began. She was watching Vael Rune the way you watch something you have already calculated. She had that quality of rarely speaking, and then saying something that changed the room when she did. She said nothing. Her second, Caius Mbeki, leaned slightly toward her, nervous. You could see it in the way his shoulders wanted to rise and didn't, because she had told him once that nervous shoulders are the first thing the Keth read in a room, he whispered. She gave the smallest shake of her head. Not yet. If you're the kind of person who stays until the end of a story like this, and I think you are, hit that like button and subscribe. To Humanity Revenge HFY, this is exactly the kind of story this channel was built for. Now, back to what happened next. The 3rd member of the delegation was Warrant Officer Deshi Tanaka. No diplomatic rank, technically a communication specialist. Smallest person in the room. He spent the session eating quietly from a sealed container that smelled faintly of ginger, which made 2 Murev delegates turn their secondary eyes toward him with an expression that translated as deeply unsettled. He didn't notice, or noticed and didn't care. With Deshi Tanaka, it was always hard to tell. On his desk sat a small, battered notebook, paper, actual paper. He had been writing in it since the session opened. Nobody knew what he was writing. Nobody had thought to ask. Dr. Osi stood up. No notes, no prepared remarks. She picked up her thermos, looked at it, set it back down. She straightened her collar. Not before a speech, but the precise way of someone checking that. Everything is where it should be when it no longer matters that it is. We're withdrawing the petition. The chamber went quiet in a different way than before. Vael Rune's 4 necks, arranged into mild confusion with undertones of professional suspicion. Ambassador Ose, you have the floor for counter-argument. We don't need it. The petition is withdrawn. Effective this session, we've decided to pursue independent arrangements. There was a word in Keth diplomatic, language for the feeling of a situation becoming something other than what it was supposed to be. Vael Rune felt it now, low in his resonance chamber, like a note played slightly wrong. 300 diplomatic sessions. He had never felt it quite like this. Independent arrangements are not recognized under Council Charter for non-member species. We know, she said. She sat down. She poured out the cold tea. Not aggressively, just practically. The way you pour out something past its moment. And refilled from a second container in her bag. Deshi Tanaka kept writing in his notebook. That was Thursday. What happened by Friday morning was something the archives would call, in dry official language, an unprecedented unilateral action. what it felt like, from inside the Council's communication center, from the bridge of the Keth, patrol vessels that picked up the signals first, was the feeling of standing in a room you have known your whole life and discovering you never understood its dimensions. The human fleet did not arrive dramatically. That was the first wrong thing. The wrongness sat in every tactical officer who processed the data. Like a stone dropped into still water, they came out of fold space in a standard dispersal. Pattern, clean, practiced, no weapon signatures, no targeting arrays. They arranged themselves in 40 minutes into a configuration that every tactical system in the Council's defense network spent 6 hours trying to categorize, and couldn't. Not an attack formation, not a defensive perimeter, something else. Something with a name and a language the Council's translation, matrices kept failing to render. The closest approximation, a door, closed from the outside. The kind of story that Humanity Revenge HFY was built to tell. Not the easy victory, not the clean triumph, but the particular moment when the galaxy finally looked at the quiet corner of the Orion arm and understood that quiet had never meant absent. The Shepherd option. Every analyst who accessed the Council's emergency files that morning encountered that phrase. A single human communique, transmitted simultaneously to all 642 member species, timed to the minute the fleet completed its arrangement. 3 paragraphs. No threats. No demands. Earth had established a provisional sovereignty exclusion zone around the Council capital's primary approach corridors. No military vessel prevented from movement. No civilian traffic impeded. Supply lines open. Communication arrays untouched. The only thing the human fleet had closed was the Council chambers, fold space approach path. The Council could not receive new delegates, could not send envoys, could not function as the galactic governing body it had spent 3 centuries constructing itself to be. Then the communique said, something the tactical division read 4 times before forwarding, because they needed to confirm the translation was correct. We will hold this position for 90 days. We suggest the Council use the time to reconsider what galactic scale thinking actually means. Signed, Dr. Yara Osei, Independent Representative, Earth. Not Ambassador. Independent Representative. Vilrun sat down. His species did not sit in stress. Sitting was what they did when they had run the numbers and didn't like the answer. 17 years ago, a human legal document had been submitted to Council records during what seemed like routine procedural review, flagged as informational, non-binding. The kind of thing small species filed to register positions nobody expected to matter. 17 years. He could not stop thinking about that number. The emergency session opened at 0300 hours. Every major delegation present. The Theran representative had brought military advisors. Unprecedented. The Murev lead delegate had 4 secondary eyes active. The room smelled of something between copper and ozone. Dr. Osei attended via communication link from a ship's galley. Thermos in front of her. She looked like someone who had slept, which was more than could be said for most of the room. Vial Rune. This action is illegal under 12 Council statutes. The Shepherd option is filed under Council record, NM43 Theta, submitted 17 years ago, under Charter Informational Filings, carry provisional binding status if unchallenged within 15 years. She paused. 15 years passed in year 16. Nobody challenged it. The silence that followed was the specific kind when a room of intelligent beings processes the same unpleasant truth simultaneously. You set a trap, Vilrun said. We filed a legal document. We waited to see if anyone read it. In the background of her transmission, Daishi Tanaka was writing in his notebook. What is he writing? The Murev delegate, low, reflexive. But it transmitted. The room focused on it. Because it was the thing everyone had been feeling since Thursday. Dr. Osei glanced back. Something moved across her face. He's logging. He logs everything. For what purpose? So we remember, she said. Everything. We remember everything. The Theran military advisor leaned forward. Those ships. Where were they? Different places. We have no record of their construction. No, she agreed. You don't. Vial Rune had spent 60 years in council diplomacy. He had developed a particular sensitivity to the moment when a situation became something he had never encountered before. This was that moment. What do you want? Nothing professional in the question. Just a question. She turned her mug once. Membership, full non-conditional, with the rights of a founding species. That classification exists. 7 species hold it. Dormant 90 years because nobody new qualified. She looked up. We qualify. By what measure? By the measure that we just demonstrated galactic scale thinking. The chamber was very still. Outside, 217 ships held position without a single weapon charged. They were just there, closing a door gently, with the patience of something that had been waiting a very long time. The vote cannot be called this session. The charter requires 90 days. We have 90 days. And if the vote fails? She picked up her mug. The fleet held its quiet formation. Then we'll have learned something, she said, about what the council actually is. Before I close this out, if this story stayed with you, drop a comment below. Tell me the moment that hit hardest. And if you know someone who needs to be reminded what humans are made of, share this with them. Humanity Revenge. HFY grows one story at a time. And this community is why we keep telling them. Now, here is how it ended. The vote was called on day 87. 6 hours. Not close. Dr. Osi was in the chamber. Fresh tea in the thermos. Made that morning, first time since Thursday. Caius and Becky noticed. He understood without being told. He sat with shoulders level, hands flat on the desk, watching the result come in without reacting, because she had said once that the room watches how you receive good news as closely as how you receive bad. Deshi Tanaka wrote it all down. The numbers, the time, the way Vailrun's 4 necks arranged when the count displayed. The silence of 642 species absorbing something they hadn't expected to feel. Afterward, Vailrun crossed the chamber, stopped in front of her. The shepherd option. Did you always know it would work? She turned her mug slowly. No, we knew it was right to file. We knew the math. We knew if anyone read it, we'd either win or learn what we were dealing with. She paused. Nobody read it. So you waited. We're very good at that, she said. Something shifted in the arrangement of his 4 necks. Something she hadn't seen in 3 years of sessions. Something that translated as, I have been wrong about this and I know it now. He didn't say it. He didn't need to. Outside, 217 ships began to stand down. They didn't leave. They reconfigured slowly, without drama, into a pattern no tactical system had category for. Neither offensive nor defensive. A presence that was there not as a threat but as a fact. The way mountains are facts. The way deep water is a fact. Deshi Tanaka closed his notebook. Finished the last of his food, sealed the container, put the notebook in his pocket. He stood and looked around the chamber, at 642 species, at the largest governing body in the known galaxy, and his face was the face of someone thinking about something that had nothing to do with any of it. Then he looked at Dr. Ose. Hungry? She blinked. What? Level 7. Something apparently close to rice. One shoulder shrug. Figured we'd celebrate. She laughed. Once, short. The kind that has nothing to do with anything funny and everything to do with surviving something you weren't sure you would. Sure, she said. Let's eat. The galaxy had spent 3 decades deciding humans didn't matter. Humans had spent those same 3 decades deciding what they would do when the galaxy finally figured out it was wrong. Only one of those decisions required patience. Only one required math. Only one required 217 ships, built quietly over years, in places nobody watched, by a species that had looked at the long game and decided simply to play it. Even closed doors have shepherds.